Urban exploration is the exploration of man-made structures that have been abandoned or left alone for long periods of time. My name's Tanya. I'm the creator of abandonedmuse.com. It's a website dedicated to urban exploration here in Miami, Florida. I started in 2004. I was already a photographer for a couple of years. Back in the day, nobody knew about it. To me, this was like the most amazing thing I had ever been to. It's something super male dominated. Other girls will be like, oh my God, I don't want to go. There's like, I'm gonna find hobos. But I was never scared about that.
I go by the alias of Nomius, and I started Flurbex.com back in fall of 2006. It stands for Florida Urban Exploration. I started doing photography sometime in 1999. I was in California, and my mom sent me her old 35 millimeter. Before that, I'd never shot anything before, and it's been going on ever since. When I started doing this, there was no Florida community, and so I made a Florida community.
So it's rumored that this used to actually be Hugh Hefner's Miami home. The VIP club for the Playboy Mansion was just a couple of blocks away from here, so it is possible. But the house itself is not really that elaborate to merit something like Hugh Hefner's home, unless it was just some sort of vacation home that he had on the side. This house has been abandoned for about 10 years, and you can kind of tell even the paint that was on the concrete has chipped off and is now in crumbles. Not a lot of graffiti. I'm actually surprised that this place doesn't have more graffiti. But as you can see, it's still a little bit graffitied. There's really nothing else here. All that's left is concrete and metal awnings of what used to probably be some crazy party house.
I found this power plant in Tampa called Hooker's Point Power Plant. No one had ever been there. No photos, no nothing. And it was this big, massive power plant. We ended up making several trips there, but it was amazing. And it's demolished. It no longer is anymore. It's gone.
One of my favorite places was Aerojet. In the 1960s, Aerojet's solid fuel technology was under consideration for use in Saturn's first stages. There were these mammoth, boards with all these knobs and dials. If you go 5 miles in, there's like a big warehouse, and in there, underneath the floorboards, sits the huge monolithic rocket. It's a sight to behold. It really is. When have you ever seen anything like this? This is a building that stands apart from any other in Miami. It's called the Amertech building. It was made by architect Frank Cheo. And the reason that it's so amazing is because it has a strange look to it. It's one of the few places in Miami that has sprayed concrete construction, so they were able to make it look like some sort of organic structure, a weird snail, some sort of alien building. It's really interesting. There was nothing inside. It was pretty sterile. There was nothing left except for some dirty things, but that's about it. There was a whole room with like a bunch of boxes inside, but there wasn't really a lot to look at. Sometimes it's more than just about what's inside the building or even urban exploration. It's more about the architecture. The building itself is a piece of art with all its curves, lines, and whimsical structure. There are places that you go because of what may hold inside. There are places that you go to because they're different than others. This is one of those buildings that should be used for a club, a bar, an art gallery, something with culture, or maybe even a children's center, a library, or any other number of things.
Being there with my friends, that's a big thing for me. Sharing the experience with my friends, to have those memories, creating those memories right there. The crew always changes, and whoever's available at the time, but if I'm at least with one other person, I've done stuff solo. I just prefer to be with other people, especially when I go out of state. I like to meet other explorers from other states, and that's a good time. Also, I really love finding old artifacts, especially old family photos, remnants of people that have left behind. That's really exciting for me. You know, letters from the war, journals, old driver's license, anything like that, documents. You know, I really like those kinds of things.
There's a lot of reasons why I do it. Not only is it about adventure, but it satisfies like a very big curiosity within me. It gives me a time to meditate the fact that there's all this history. The Nike missile site was actually built in 1965 by the US Army in response to the Cuban Missile Crisis, where they did targeting and fire control. The IFC site also housed a mobile command center, which would be used in case of a nuclear crisis. All the Nike missile sites in South Florida were decommissioned in 1979, after it was decided that they offered nothing to the security of the nation. In 1985, though, the IFC location was reused as a CIA office. In 1992, due to damages done by Hurricane Andrew, the facility was stripped and vacated.
I've been arrested a couple of times for my photography trespassing. I recently got banned for life from Disney. It was a fluke thing that kind of happened. It wasn't planned. I was with a group of people. Disney has several abandoned locations. I walked around and made some videos and whatever. And then this sort of Fox News interview thing happened, and that really brought the attention from Disney. And I understand, there's consequences for what we do. If you can get permission, I highly recommend always try to get permission if you can. But the problem is, these abandonments, there's almost never anybody around to ask. And then you typically get the answer no, because they don't want to deal with the legalities. They don't want to deal with you. They have better things to do. So I got banned from Disney. And I want to just say to anybody watching this, if you do mess around on private property, you can and probably will get arrested and trespassed for life. I can never go back to any Disney park in Florida. My trespass warning is without expiration.
Splendid China is a 75-acre park in the middle of Kissimmee, Florida. It was China in miniature to show how splendid China was. People started protesting it. It had no rides. It was all just like, Buddhas, and it even recreated some of the Tibetan temples that the Chinese had driven the Tibetans from. It upset a lot of people, and so there was people protesting at its gates all the time. There was even a protest inside the park one time. People just stopped coming. So when we went to Splendid China, I walked right in through the back. There was this beautiful mountain. There was these two Buddhas. One of them had been painted like the Joker from Batman. It looked really great. So I start walking back to the front. Who do I see but a security guard walk past? I look over to the side and there's the car. And I'm like, oh, that's it. Game over. And I just froze. I froze like a statue. And I was just like, let me see if my Jedi mind trick works. Like urban explorers always think about this Jedi mind trick, you cannot get caught. So he looked straight at me and he didn't see me. So when we got approached, we just told him, okay, no problem, and we walked out. You try to be as respectful and as nice. You do not talk back to them. You do not try to reason with them. Basically, just walk out. You can get arrested. We never break in. It's basically, the way that I see it is, what sounds better to a judge? I crawled in through a broken window, or I broke into a window and crawled in, Basically, breaking and entering is way worse than just walking into a place.
I can understand how maybe urban explorers can be seen as domestic terrorists, perhaps, because people don't really know what we're doing and we're taking pictures. We are easily and often misunderstood as criminals and scrappers and whatever, but that's not the case at all. Domestic terrorism, I think it's a bit extreme. It's a lot extreme. We're not, speaking for myself and my friends, that's not what we do. Most urban explorers have a code. They don't touch anything, don't break anything, don't take anything. So we're not doing any harm. We're about the abandoned and forgotten. That's what we deal with.
The castle was one of those things that you find that you're like, am I really here? That place was Captain Burke's castle. So it had a moat with sharks in it, and it had this slide that at the end of the slide, it was the face of a dragon. And there was all these different stained glass artwork everywhere. The woodwork that the ceilings had and the columns, it was stunning. And it was right on the ocean. It was beautiful. I was actually one of the last people to take pictures of that place. And since they liked my picture so much, the Herald actually asked me to use my pictures in their story when the house burned down shortly after I took the pictures.
I think we're doing the community a service. I know personally myself, I have, because I have 2 books published. We're sharing places that people have long forgotten or maybe they didn't even know about before. So you're doing the community service. You're documenting history. You're documenting places that don't even exist anymore. They're gone. They've been destroyed. So, you know, yeah, we're not doing anything wrong. I'll keep doing it. There's a culture of people nowadays in the urban exploring sort of realm. They want to get right to the place. They don't want the adventure of finding the place, planning it out, talking with your friends, making all the inside jokes, you know, the whole adventure of getting there, traveling 4 or 5 hours, whatever. That's the core, that's it, that's the urban exploring. Once you get to the spot, that's great. You do your pictures, you appreciate the place, you got your memories, your photos, you go. But everything that led up to that point is it.
I always have water on me, a mask, you know, I'm always wearing boots, you know, watch where you're stepping.
I recommend taking at least one friend with you, or at least tell somebody where you're going, because it can be dangerous. I've seen people halfway fall through floors.
Urban exploring can be hazardous for your health. Case in point, one day I was exploring in this house and I thought that the boards over here were perfectly stable. As you can see now, there's this board over here, but back in that day there was nothing here. So I stepped on this wooden floor and I went through. My friend had to grab me. I was about up to here, my legs dangling from the first floor, and he had to pull me up. So yeah, it's a little bit dangerous. Some houses are more dangerous than others. This was obviously very rotted out and I didn't know. Honestly though, that's what I think I love about abandoned places. The fact that they can be dangerous, the fact that there is some sort of a factor of fear and danger within it.
You're going to step on a nail. Things are old and they can collapse. It does happen. Be safe and be smart. Have fun. Always bring water, because I always forget mine.